Very good evening, friends. First of all, I would like to thank you so much for your commitment towards the time given to attending the session, where you will learn at least something of uh, a new technology or a new thing that uh, a machine learning and artificial intelligence data stream is heading towards a next generation. So hence, we just try to understand what the technology has come up with and how these are helping us to faster our work. Nowadays, we all know that the data is piling up like anything. It's a oil. It's a oil for the business. So without wasting much of the time, we'll just get into the session. So today's session is all about discussion with ML flow. So 360 digit EMG is coming up with a different kind of sessions, webinars, which constitutes or the main motto or objective is to reach the people with different technologies, the current technologies, the current topics, which is required by the industry. Hence, today we are learning about ML flow and their components and the pipeline that is required for any deployment of machine learning or artificial intelligence. So we all know that the data, which is very important in today's world, so which is making more impact on the decision making, prediction, forecasting. So in advance, we prepare for the future obstacles so that we improve our business based on the strategies that we take. We reduce our error rate. So these two are important. And also I can say when I reduce the error, it is all mean that increasing the accuracy. So from the help of data or past history, I can make my decision to be in safer side, to understand and make my decision and change my strategies so that I don't get any trouble or difficulty. So the real-time applications, what we have in our day-to-day life, whatever the company or whatever the domain is all about, whether it is marketing, whether it is HR, whether it is financial, whether it is accounting, whether it is agriculture, whether it is production-based industry, whether it is service-based industry, whatever the field is all about, we have plenty of data involved in this, where we need to extract the insights out of it. So that the company move towards their strategies or the organization be in safer side well in advance, that to change their strategies to improve their benefits and business profits. So for this, what they'll do? So they come up with good traditional models, that is machine learning models, which we refer to be as data science concepts, data science skills with various algorithms that work on data. And we also have deep learning concepts, that is artificial intelligence, where it is application oriented. So to support all this machine learning and deep learning, today we have a programming language that is helping with greater contribution in understanding the data and run our algorithms and models integrated with different platforms. So all these technologies, even not only with respect to the software or the tools that you are using, not only these two, but also you need to have a contribution of hardware that you are using, because to run many datas, to run a big datas, you do require different machines like RAM capacity, GPU machine, the cloud-based virtual machines. So all these technologies also parallelly improving. See, now understand what is the importance of data. In 1990s, we were not having much enough data, but still the technology was moving towards, if the data increases, what we need to do. So for that, from 1990s till date, the data become exponentially increased, exponentially, not power 2, it's power 10. So it got increased and everything moved towards digitalized. So where everyone are moving ahead with the technology by making all the components as digitalized. Hence, we have different flows of data from source to destination. As I said, the data itself is an oil, which is very precious. We just need to extract the appropriate one. When I give you an example saying that the oil extracted from well, we can't use this oil directly to our vehicles. We can't use this oil directly to our vehicles. Our vehicles required a petrol or diesel or gas or electricity as a part of fuel. But why only vehicles are accepting petrol, diesel, gas, electricity? Because the engines are manufactured in such a way that the fuels accepted by the engines are petrol, diesel, gas, electricity. So the same when we link about machine learning, we do have several models like supervised learning model and unsupervised learning model. So these models accepts data of different data, and this accepts different data, type of data or kind of data. And we do have deep learning. These models are also accepts the data, but in different way. But who is going to modify these data? Who is going to alter these data? Who is going to process these data? We call it as processing. So under machine learning or deep learning, 40% of the task is done for data pre-processing, or I can say data cleaning. We refer that as exploratory data analysis. Okay, so manually, if something is done manually by using some packages, this can be done. But still, there are plenty of cases where we just need to do manual work and consider some of the assumptions, and we are working. But as the technology improves, we also have a technology like ML flow, which creates a particular pipeline where the data is flow from source to destination in the pipeline using various frameworks. When I say the data is flow into the pipeline, the source, when I say source, it can be of different various sources. It can be from various sources. But all these things need to be captured, modified as per the model that is required and get the destination reached so that the decision can be made by the end user. So there are a lot of many work that is done in the middle, which is to be taken care by a developer. But for that, we do have some frameworks helping us to work on that. So that is one of the kind is ML flow. So today we are going to understand the ML flow, which is an open source platform, which is helping to manage the traditional machine learning lifecycle, which involves various experimenting, various model reproducibility, various evaluation techniques, and at the end, we deploy the models on various platforms. So all these, if somebody is taking care, if one person is taking care, then it will be a great help, because traditional model has been splitted into various things, into different things, like one is doing data processing, one is using the data into the data model, one is evaluating the process. After everything, the model will get saved and it will be get deployed on the cloud platform. So instead of that, ML flow is going to take care about all inclusive of these process. And there are many organizations, I've listed few, who contributed for this ML flow, and they are still continuing the same. So one among them is Databricks, Facebook, Research Center, Microsoft, Booking.com. So these are all some of the major companies that is contributed for this ML flow. Any machine learning model, any deep learning model can be deployed on any platform using ML Flow. So since it is open source, everyone can easily access. It's of free. If you have machine learning model, you can just deploy it on. And that too, you can also tune the hyperparameter. So we'll just discuss and see how we can tune the hyperparameter that will be helpful by ML Flow. So ML Flow has a capacity to make use of any packages. It uses TensorFlow, PyTorch, Keras, Spark, sklearn, Python, even Java, all the XGBoost. So I'll show you that packages which are supported by ML Flow. When I say it is supported by all these packages, obviously it is a great opportunity for deploying these models. So as we proceed, the life cycle, let me zoom in. When I say the life cycle of machine learning, I'm talking about only machine learning. So first you need to prepare the data from various sources. Before that, it will be a raw data. And then you develop a model, train that, and test that. And once it is done, you deploy it. So there are different phases that will be taken care. And there are few places where you need to tune it, you need to scale it, you need to again rerun the things. But whereas in ML Flow, we have several components that can be tuned without any human intervention. However, the data will be pre-processed in ML Flow so that it will be given or extracted from the various sources, and it will be modified or changed according to the requirement to the model. So when I talk about in depth with the ML Flow, so one thing I just need to highlight about ML Flow is its capacity or capability in managing the need of end-to-end machine learning lifecycle. So as I told you, it's an open source platform which is created by Databricks. So machine learning lifecycle can be managed. And there are few managed versions. And it is supported by libraries which are supported by Python, Java, R programming. It works with any machine learning libraries. It can be used on individual local environment as well as any servers. That is the flexibility that I wanted to mention here as a part of ML Flow. So coming to the next, which is very important to understand, that the ML Flow tracking, ML Flow projects, ML Flow models, which are the three very basic components of ML Flow. So when I start talking about these three, it will be prolonged, but in very short and sweet, I would like to mention what is ML Flow tracking, projects, and models. When I say tracking, it is going to record and do some queries and configure and get the results, where some experiments using the code will be happen to get the results. So this is what a part of ML tracking, that is component of ML flow. So when I understand ML flow project, it's a complete packaging format, which is giving support for machine learning experiments on any platform. The basic idea here is to have ML flow format, which is taken from PyTorch neural network, and to deploy onto the Spark. So it is helping us to make sure that even artificial intelligence is going to work, whereas libraries like PyTorch can also be used to make deployed to the streaming technology, that is Spark. So when I talk about ML flow model, it can be used to deploy on any platform like Docker, or on any cloud, or even for locally. The flexibility gives us make use of these particular components in best way to deploy our models. So with this basic knowledge, I would like to mention, I would like to give you a small thing, that is, you can see here ML tracking with various parameters, metrics, artifacts, metadata, models. So many experiments will be conducted in this. So many results will be obtained here in this tracking. And ML flow also have registry, where some of the people who are involved in developing and testing will be involved in reviewing the continuous integration and continuous development, referred to be as data scientists, deployment engineers, whereas at the end, the layman will be understood with the technology. Will be getting benefited with the usage of the models. So I quickly go through the important aspects that is required for ML, that is components and their usage. And we'll try to build some of the models like basic hello world model, and also one of the regression model. I'll just show you how it can be done. So going with okay, let me open ML flow. As soon as I click on ML flow, I'll be getting the first link, which is telling about ML flow. So since it is open source, all the communities contributed, companies are contributing. You can see that even the documentation is there for ML flow. The tutorial is there, the tracking is there, all the components are there. And every now and then there will be a new release modifications that will be done. And you'll be having codes, the documentation, and community for this. So we'll try to understand how it works and how it is used. So it works with any machine learning library, language, and existing code. And it also runs in any of the cloud-based platform. And it is used to scale. If you're using your model in your system, it will be efficient for your system and your data. Whereas if I want to use that same for different data, for different people, on different models, that can be shared so that the model will be saved at one place. Hence, it can be scaled from one user to large organization. And scales to big data with Apache Spark. Now, what do you mean by scales to big data with Apache Spark? So Apache Spark is one of the big data framework that is helping to streamline the data from source to destination. So nowadays the data is all about unstructured data. So we need to make it as proper formatting, pre-process, and need to work on it. So as part of ML flow, so we have 4 components. So I think I mentioned only 3. So the model registry is one of the important storage component, rather I can say. So first, ML flow tracking, it records, it queries, and it does experiments and give the configurations with the results. ML flow projects, the package, the data science code in different formats and any platforms it will run with the help of ML flow. So different frameworks, different packages, different tools. We make use of ML flow models, which will be deploying our machine learning onto the respective environments. So with this basic knowledge, I'll directly get into the things. So where you just click on run quick start. So you can have a Python or R code. If you click on R, you will be getting this. If it is Python code, then you will be getting these values. So you just need to understand what platform that you are using and how you are setting your database connection. And when you are tracking your API, what you are installing and how you are working. So I'll just quickly copy paste this and then make use of and show you how it works. And also quickly show you a regression model, a simple regression model, how it works and how it is going to deploy it on the things. So we'll quickly go through that and then show it to you. So I'm using Jupyter Notebook to execute my ML Flow program. So I'll be using a framework pip install ML Flow. So I was already having the important packages that is required. You can see that Flask, Pandas, Docker, PyYAML, all the relevant packages will be installed. And after that, I'll be using some of the packages which is required for my problem statement. So my problem statement is to make sure that it is deployed on the platform or a cloud. So here I've considered my local host as my premises, as my server, which is helping to deploy our model completely onto the server. It's something like I don't have a server now. I'll make my system itself as a server and I'll be deploying. So in a company's organizations, what you'll do is we'll just deploy that in a cloud and that will be accessed through the servers, which in turn helps organization to get the better profit. So I'm using ML Flow. I'll just increase this size. Yes, now you are able to see. So I'm using ML Flow. I'm using operating system. I'm using random numbers, integer. I'm using some plotting graphical representation. I'm using pandas. I'm using scalar. So these are my some of the packages that is required to execute. And I just need to know what version sklearn, pandas, matplotlib, mlflow is all about. So for that, I have a quick command that gives you the version of mlflow. Just type mlflow.version.capital version, which gives you the version, and pandas pd.__version__. Same thing for scalar, same thing for matplotlib. Only change for mlflow is this. Just type mlflow.version.capital version. Sometimes it will also work with only mlflow.version. If that is not working, you just give a try for this. So moving forward, after that, you just click on type help of mlflow. What I'm doing is, I just don't need to know what all the things that is supported by mlflow. So for that, I just typed help mlflow to understand what is there inside, what are the packages that is supported by mlflow. So you can see that mlflow having description with the high level fluent API. Okay, so the code is in Python programming language. After importing mlflow, you will be getting this particular sample code. This is a sample code for Python. You just run the framework, and you at the end you end the run, and then you just need to use a log parameters, and you can also log the metrics that you use. So it is automatically terminates at the end of the block, and it fluently tracking API is not a thread safe, whereas the particular tracking must be exclusion manually, mutually exclusion manually. For a lower level API, we do have a client module, and these are the some of the packages. You can see there are so many: XGBoost, Spark, sklearn, SageMaker, AWS SageMaker, PyTorch, PySpark, PyFunk, Keras, pipelines. Almost all packages are used. Even TensorFlow are used by the ML flow. So you can just go through this and try to understand what all the things that will be under ML flow. Now, my basic small criteria is to define my hello world program. So whatever I've seen in this particular things, I've made use of it. So I've just copy paste this particular small code, which is helping us to randomly generated metrics, which can be updated throughout the run. And it is checking for the file and writing the content onto the file. So hello world is my text. I need to create the folder. If the folder does not exist, it will create the directory folder, and it will write the content by making test.txt as a file inside the folder. So that is what it has been mentioned here. So inside this function, so I just wanted to run name. So you can just call this run function. So once you run this function, it will come and set the particular folders and copy the text. So I'll just quickly go through this code. mlflow.set experiment. You're just mentioning the experiment name. You're setting it. And you start running that as reading option with it's a recurrent because we are using with. It will be recurrent. It will be running for several number of times. So that will be calculated with respect to the random. So I've used rand function, random randint. And I'll be running this particular file that is saved as ipynb. So this is my file, hello world.ipynb. So the model will be running and it will be giving the information, how it is running, what it is running. And it is going to tag with the name of the running. So you can just tag that run name. You can just give any name. Instead that, even if you don't give run name, it will be automatically detect and then give the by default name. Okay, so that I'll show you how it is. So log metric, we are just getting log with the metrics. What, how many times, how it was running. And it is setting the tags, run logic, and in Jupyter notebook. So we are setting that. And after that, the file will be detected. If not, it will recreate and then execute by transferring the text onto the file. where you will be having a lot artifacts that will be saved in a particular path. So once you run this, once you execute this particular function, when you run that particular run function, you will be getting running hello world.ipynb with the model with unique code. Okay. So unique code will be generated if I am giving run local run. So this is my name of the particular model which is running. Okay. So you can also make use of the particular run of your model onto the server by mentioning your own path. So you can just specify set underscore tracking underscore URI. So this will set your link to execute a particular value. And how do you set this? It will be created by using set tracking URI. And once the set tracking URI is defined, you can just get that particular tracking URI and use that. So you can see here, I've opened this localhost 1234. I'll just go back here. You can see that there is a hello world. So 4 hours ago, I've created and I mentioned it as local run. You can see the name of the run is specified as local run. So when I click here, I'll be getting all the values. Where is the source and whether the status is finished, what is the duration time taken, and who is the owner of that. And you'll be getting all the descriptions here, parameters used here. You can see that you have parameters 1, that is 34. And the metrics that you have, 2 metrics, that is foo and foo1, which is having those values. And the tags that we use as run logic, Jupyter notebook, that can be edited. And you can also give the name of the authors. And you have an artifact. What is this artifacts? It's a log files. When I use artifacts, you can see that test.txt, which has been created. In my program, I've used this test.txt output that has been saved in the directory, in the same path exists in the directory. So that holds and creates a particular artifact as a folder. And it is going to give the full path also. So since it is in my local machine, it is giving the path. You can also download the particular path. So this is the flexibility of ML flow, which is helping you to create your own when we install pip install, all these will be generated, all will be used. Okay, so this is one of the simplest program that we have done. So I've also done a regression model, that is machine learning basic regression model, to analyze some of the data. So I've taken the data from ICU, which is giving me a data of mileage per gallon of a particular vehicle. And it is helping me to analyze the data. You can see that the packages that I've used is this. As you all aware, pandas, numpy, mlflow, operating system, random, matplotlib. And I'm using sklearn for metrics, model selection, linear model. Metrics is for calculating the errors. That is, I'm using mean square error and mean absolute error. And also I'll just split the data based on train data and test data so that I can get the values of actual value and prediction value calculations. So using that particular, again, elastic net, I'll be getting the linear models. So that is linear regression model. So now I read the data, and the data which is splitted with /t, that is tab, is going to split and put it in the 0. So the column name that I've given it as 0, and I've separated these values. Since my data is like a text format, I need to divide all these in a various columns. So first column is telling something, the second column is telling something, or the third value is telling something. Like this, you have different columns with the values. So when I segregate that as mileage per gallon, cylinders, displacement, horsepower, weight, acceleration, model year, origin. So you can split that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 as 8 different columns, and you split that particular data and you drop some of the columns. Like you don't need MPG because MPG is my output. So I just need to have a particular index that can be dropped. And after that, I can get the data by replacing with, you can see that we have double quotes onto the text. We don't need that. Hence, we apply replacing that with a space. So here I'm just highlighting what is there inside the car name column, which is having double quotes. I just need to remove that. So I'm replacing that by using lambda, applying on the column. So after getting listed with car name, I don't have any name. And then I go comparing with the particular data that I've given, that I've taken. That is, I have to compare it with a categorical data and a numerical data. So I also need to convert the data into a floating point numerical data. Hence, this for loop help us to change that into numerical data and have the correlations. So again, I'll split this particular data into my inputs and output. The main objective is to calculate the dependency of this particular dependent variable, we call it as dependent variable, on all the independent variable. What is the relation between mileage per gallon and horsepower? What is the linearity? When horsepower is increased, the mileage drops down. When the weight is increased, what is the impact on mileage per gallon? When the cylinders are increased, displacement are increased, when the acceleration is increased, what is the mileage per gallon? So when you are buying a car, you just concentrate on mileage per gallon, but this mileage is dependent on various factors. The weight of the car, the horsepower of the car, the displacement of an engine, the capacity, cylinder capacity, where we say that it is cc. All these matters a lot to make your car with good mileage per gallon. So hence we took that as an output and the others are input. When you are performing the linearity between that, you do require forming a simple best fit line, linearity line. So those values or those things will be taken care by ML flow. So now I'm splitting the data and I'm just predicting with respect to actual and prediction data. So I'll be finding root mean square error and mean absolute error. So both the errors will be returned. So you just need to be careful when you are returning the particular function, the method, what you are is returning two values. Okay. So whenever you are using this particular function name, you need to be return two values. So make sure that you are doing that. Now, I have two variables. That is, I'm using elastic net where you'll be having alpha value and L1 ratio value. So these are some of the hyperparameter. When I say hyperparameter, you know that linearity concept. Y is equal to mx plus c. You have m value, you have c value. X is already known that it is input and y it is already known that it is output. Now what happens if I give m value this and c value this? What is the impact of y? When I change these two values, what will be your impact of y when you have inputs? So this is what we are checking with alpha and L1 ratio, that we are giving it as an input and we are cross verifying, and this can also be fine tuned. We call this as hyperparameter, where it is keeps on changing. It is not constant. It keeps on changing. We can just tune this hyperparameter tuning with various techniques. But right now, I'll just fix these values and pass to the elastic net model and get the model created. My model name is LR, that is linear regression, and fit that model with input data as well as output data, where it needs to understand for these particular values, the output column is given as this. So it needs to understand these values, actual values, what they are giving. And once you predict the value, you just need to compare it with the actual value and prediction. For that, we do require evaluation of matrix. When you are calculating what is the actual value and the predicted value, you may miss some of the comparisons. Now, what percentage of missing is there? That we call it as mean square error. That we call it as root mean square error. That will be calculated, and mean absolute error. So your model should predict something with less errors so that your accuracy will be more. When I say 3% of error, obviously you are 97% of accuracy. Anything below 5% is a good model that is predicting your answer. So going further, I'll be using this hyperparameter, that is alpha and L1 ratio, and I'll be using that for the model. After using that the model, I'll be getting root mean square as 3.2 and mean absolute error as 2.4. For this particular value, alpha and L1 ratio, I'm getting this particular root mean square and mean absolute error. When it keeps on changing, it is not constant, it keeps on changing. Then at that time, I need to calculate what is RMSE and MAE. So for that, I'll just pass on to the particular for loop, and I'll be getting for each instance. You can see that 0.01, 0.15, 0.01, 0.2, 0.01, 0.5. So with this permutation combination, I'll be getting the root mean square and mean absolute error without using ML flow. Right now, I'll make you understand with the ML flow. When you are naming your experiment, you can just name anything. I've just given name experiment underscore name. Why I'm doing this? Because I just need to give the name of the experiment or the problem statement that you are giving. If already exist, it will throw you that it is already exist with the name. If not, it will create and then it will proceed further. So for that, I'm using exception handling. And I'll be creating a particular model, images, and making the directory as images to save our graphical representation. So when I use the experiment name or experiment, it will be having separate unique experiment ID. For every experiment, you'll be having unique IDs. So I'll be putting that everything in the inside with mlflow.start run. Once you start, all the activities will be function will be run inside that. So same thing, you'll be calculating the root mean square error, mean absolute error inside until, and then it will get end. So after that, you will be getting the graphs that will be saved in the images. So this is what, when I'm doing alpha value and L1 ratio value by prescribing it, if you can change it. What if in case I want to tune that particularly without giving anything? So I just need to pass that in a particular list, and I can make use of that particular list every time. So this will be the value for first and the next, and for the next, and for the next. So like this graphical representation will be given so that it will be easy for us to understand. So once done with hello world and plain regression, your model will be get deployed onto the same local host. You just need to come here and then click on refresh. You'll be getting the model, and you can see that you'll be getting these particular values for individual values of alpha and ratio. So these are the parameters. These are the metrics that you obtained. So when I click on this, you'll be getting all the values description. So in the previous, I've created only artifacts which has only the text which I've created for hello world. But here you do have ML flow with run, which is providing you the details of graph, which you can download and use it for other purpose. You also have requirements.txt, which gives you the information what you have required, what you want requirement. If the person who is doing with the same data and same model, he can also adjust with the requirements. ML flow, Cloud Pickle with versions. It is setting the versions. So it is also giving you the YAML information, that is Python dependencies. If it is Python, which version? And for Python, you have to have pip installed 21.2.4, which I've worked, and the wheel version is 0.37.1, and it is readable with the requirements. You don't have an opportunity to update. So the model, my model will get saved in .pkl. This model can be used anywhere so that you can deploy on any of the framework, so that you will be getting as a application. So I have Conda YAML. If you are using Anaconda, then you need to set this particular, and you have a ML model details, that is artifact path, flavors, different versions, and pickled. You can see that run ID is given here, and model ID, ML flow version, scalar version, all the things. So once you execute, all these will be there. And okay, and in your system, I can show you that when you create your ML flow, so I've chosen this particular path where it creates a folder ML runs. Inside this, I'll be getting these values, like how many times if you run, how many times you have run your model, that many times your data will be getting stored with the values. Like you can see that inside 0, you have a metadata, and no need to worry about that. Inside 1, you have these values. So you can see that artifacts, inside that you will be having okay, let me take you through 2. Yeah. So here you have artifacts with plane regression and the diagram. You can see that you need not to download it. Everything will be saved, and you will be having all these requirements. Conda, YAML source file, and ML model, and pickle format model. That is very helpful to deploy on any of the platform source code. And you need not to worry about what all things required for you to execute your program. Everything will be there in the requirements. So as many number of times you have executed, it will get logged and it will be saved. Okay, you will have this IPYNB file, which is also helpful. So this is the important work of ML flow, which we need to understand. So as we proceed further, you can also deploy, you can also use some of the classification model and any other deep learning models also, which will help you to get all the required files so that you can deploy on the cloud. So this is all about where you can just get an idea about how ML flow So I request everyone to go through this particular link, which gives you more details about the each and every details about ML flow until you deploy your model, which is very helpful. And I'm stopping here. So if you have any doubts, anything to discuss, you are feel free to mention that in the chat box. And also few more things that I need to inform you, friends. The links of relevant pages, the social media, are posted in the chat box. The Facebook, LinkedIn, we are very active in LinkedIn and Facebook. You can just follow us, various technologies, various projects that we are doing, and we'll be coming up with different courses that is helping to get job opportunities. So all the details will be posted and reaching throughout the world to all the people through our Facebook ID, Google, Facebook ID, LinkedIn ID, and even we are having a 360 DGTMG channel so that you can subscribe for that. So I'm so sorry that it has been restricted for me to not to share the materials, because once you are opted with the course, data engineering course, you will be discussing which in detail with all the platforms, all the codes, all the frameworks, where we'll be getting the all the details. So right now, I just you to go through the mlflow.org. There you have a particular code that is more than sufficient to understand hello world. And you can use your own regression model, machine learning model to deploy using ML flow. So what I can do is at least I can make sure that a particular file can be used. So at least this particular I can share you. Okay, friends, I think I've shared you the code as well. You can just go through that and it might help you to step to the next step. So please go with the website and opt for the course. In 1 hour, we can't understand completely. Even I skipped many things without explaining. You can also learn in detail when you join the course so that you can just be perfect and understand all the frameworks. So I would request you all to go through the website 360DGTMG, which is mentioned in the chat box. So please make use of all the relevant details. And if you want to contact and reach our website through an email or contact number, our office is in 1 Central, KL. So you can also visit our office. Those details are also there in the website. So please make sure that visit our website and office for your confirmation and get all the relevant details by calling the particular number mentioned in the website. So I again thank you all for your time and making your commitment to understand and learn something new. So I really appreciate your sincere effort in attending the session. So you can just also make a note of email ID and contact number mentioned in the chat box. So keep this all as your reference and please make sure that you upgrade yourself. And thank you all. Have a nice time. I'm just winding up the session. So we'll meet in the next different sessions so that we can come up with different concepts. So don't forget to give the reviews and feedback. It's more valuable for us because so we can conduct more sessions like this. So I request you all to give the feedback. The link is in the chat box. So please make sure that the feedback is given so that we can step forward with the new topics. Thank you, friends. Have a nice time. Take care of your good health. We'll see in the next session.